Hey guys, sorry I don't have an editorial for you this morning. It was a late morning. I got up late, woke up early. Late. And I was just rushing through the house and I don't have one. I'm sorry. I do have something I want to talk to you about really quick. So I've been getting a lot of comments reference to law enforcement, and I want to address that. And I'm not going to try to remember like word for word everything in the comments, but I'm going to reference the comments here. What I'm going to talk about is what was said in the comments that people are making. Like, when an officer tells you to back up, why don't you just back up? I'm going to address that. You know, people are saying, why don't you just back up? But how dare you talk to a cop like that? They're just doing their job. I'm going to go over that if I can remember. Somebody told me that, these cops that are out there on the street, they've been doing it a while. They have experience. They have a sixth sense. They just know. They can look and tell a person and know that they have drugs or not. Well, if they're that clairvoyant, why don't they go buy lottery tickets? If I had that kind of psychic ability, shit, man, I'd be buying lottery tickets every week. But they don't just know. Because if they just knew, then there'd be an arrest every time. It's like the movie Moneyball, when Brad Pitt is talking to the head scout there, and he says, we know, and this and that, and then I forget the exact conversation, but Billy, what was his name? Billy, played by Brad Pitt, says, you act like you just know, but you just don't know. You don't just know. That went over well, didn't it? But that's what I mean is, you don't just know. It's called profiling. There's a word for it, profiling. Oh, he looks like he might have drugs. I bet this guy has drugs. And just because the person ends up having something to where you can arrest them on, you go, see, I knew. No, you didn't know. It's a fishing expedition. You throw your line out there and either you catch a fish or you throw them back. You either keep it because it's a good one or you throw it back. Or you don't catch anything. Because if they just knew, then they'd arrest every time. But I have video recorded deputies doing that where they had to let the guy go and they go, you can go. Go. Why? Because they didn't find anything. But they just knew, right? No, it's called profiling. Why don't they stop everybody that's walking down the street? Well, this guy might have drugs. Let me check him. Oh, because he's well dressed. He's an older gentleman. He probably doesn't have drugs. But the young guy that does odd jobs for cash and recycles, who has a backpack on, he's got to have drugs. Look at his dirty ass t-shirt, ripped pants. Come here. He ends up not having anything on him, and you go, all right, you can go. You're free to go. But if he ends up having drugs, you go, see, I knew. No, you didn't fucking know, because you're not psychic. But we put so much trust and so much admiration in law enforcement that we allow them to violate people's Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights, and we say nothing. Well, they're just doing their job. Don't people in America have the right to be secure in their persons and property? Well, they're on probation or parole. I've actually heard people say, I'm not on probation or parole. Okay, do you have anything I need to know of? And they start going through their bag. The guy just said, I'm not on probation or parole. Yeah, but you're suspicious. You're sitting in front of this business. I recorded a deputy like that once. What are you doing in front of this business? He goes, I was just sitting here. Well, why? They don't want people sitting here. Go, get out of here. I hate to use this comparison because people get upset. And it's just an outlandish one, but this isn't Nazi Germany. Let me check your papers. I will sick the dog on you if you do not come here and obey. That's what it's like. Let me check your papers. Come here. and we do it, it's the same concept as back up. Well, why don't you just back up? Because I'm not a slave to law enforcement. I'm a free American in the United States of America, living under the U.S. Constitution. And in California, we have a California Constitution that allows me to be a free American, to have free speech and free press. That's video recording too. They say back up because they don't want you in video or audio range, because they're not doing something they're doing something shady. They know they're not supposed to just stop people and say, come here, and start searching through their stuff. But you're there recording and they don't like it. That's why that one Yucaipa deputy at the 3rd Street in the Boulevard was talking to that guy, and he said, why do you got to arrest me? Well, you're going to be arrested tonight on your warrant. He goes, it's not really a warrant. I just have to go into court on Monday. Well, you're going to be arrested. And then he goes, yeah, you're going to be arrested. And he sees me recording, and he goes, okay, get out of here. Get your stuff and get out of here. Because I was standing behind him recording. Not directly behind him. I was about 35 feet away. You didn't see him go, back up, you're in my scene. You didn't see him do that. You know why? Because he knew he got caught violating somebody's 4th Amendment civil rights. Oh yeah, civil rights violations. People say, I didn't see any civil rights violation, because you got a slave mentality. You're a slave to law enforcement. You think that you have to obey the police every time they tell you something. That's a slave mentality. You're not a free American. You're not living as a free American. You're living as a slave to law enforcement and to government. And I don't mind if an officer tells me, what, this is why I need you to back up or whatever. Fine. Okay, I'm this, or, explains to me and it makes sense. Sure. But just to say, give me room, back up, and I'm already 50 feet away or so. No, I'm a free American. I have the right to film. Yeah, I'm going to, that lazy guy with the one eye said in him, well, these are my rights. I'm going to fight for my rights. You're goddamn right I'm going to fight for my rights. Because I'm a free American. I was born in the United States of America with rights afforded to me as a Native American. Well, I'm not a Native American. I am. I was born here, raised here, right? I open a can of worms there. People are going to go, let me talk about Native Americans. And I'm not knocking Native Americans. I'm just saying, the old Columbus argument. But I was born here. I was raised here. I have my gas light. I know I have to put gas in the tank. I have, if you heard that, I have rights to free speech and free press. So when a cop just simply says, back up, if you're not obstructing, delaying, nor resisting, you don't have to back up just because he says back up. And resisting, how am I resisting if I'm not breaking the law? You see? But people will just back up because they have a slave mentality. The Jews were slaves under the Egyptians. They had to do what they said or they got whipped. You have to do what we say or we'll arrest you. That's the slave mentality. It's not being an asshole. It's not being arrogant. But we have to keep these cops accountable. And people say, this one guy said, they're getting the shit bags off the street. Why? Because the guy doesn't dress as well as you? Because the guy doesn't have a job like you have? He's a shitbag? You ever watch the movie Surviving the Game with Ice-T and Rutger Hauer, Charles Dutton, Gary Busey, I'm trying to name everybody, John C. McGinley. There's a guy in there, he was in the movie Scarface too. He plays Mr. Wolf of Wall Street. And his son in the movie says, Dad, we're not going to hunt this guy, are we? He's a human being. And the guy from Wall Street says, no, he's a homeless piece of shit. That's the mentality that a lot of people around here have. That's a homeless piece of shit. Why? Because he doesn't dress as well as you? He doesn't have the job you have? because he can't afford an apartment. Apartments run fucking $1,000 to $1,300 a month here. Then you got to pay utilities. Most of the mobile home parks here, or maybe all of them, are owned to live. I messed that up. But like, you can't rent mobile homes in many of the mobile home parks here. You have to buy them, own them, purchase them. That's why there's so many foreclosures on mobile homes in the mobile home parks, because people get into them and then they just can't afford it every month. Because they have to have a mortgage on top of a space rent. So they end up in the street, and then people say, well, that's a homeless piece of shit. No, that's a homeless person. He's on hard times. Not every homeless person is a criminal. Not every criminal is homeless. Some criminals wear badges. But we get upset if anybody opposes law enforcement. That's the slave mentality. How dare you do that to the master? Instead of saying, you know what? Why are you telling me to do this? Why are you saying to do that? Instead of just screaming, throwing flashlights in people's faces, and I'm not just talking about this week. This is a nationwide problem. I've seen it with other cop watchers. Apple Valley's good for that, putting a flashlight in people's face. The Victor Valley substation. But they do that. They put the spotlight on their car in your face. But we say, well, they're just doing their job, man. Really? That's their job, to bully people with cameras because they don't want you recording what they're doing? Because they don't want to be, well, I have to be recorded on my job. Well, that's what happens when you have criminals in your element. You know, when I walk into Stater Brothers all the time, I got to close here in a minute, and I look up, I'm on camera every time I walk in there, and I love Stater Brothers. I love the store. I shop there. I get my groceries there. But every time I walk through the doors, I look up and there I am walking into the store. Why do I have to be recorded? Because there are shoplifters. Because people will go in and they are dirt bags that go in and steal stuff, because then they got to raise prices. They're taken out of my pocket. But because there are shoplifters, every fucking buddy that walks through that door is going to get recorded on camera. I don't see people in the store complaining to store managers going, why do I got to be recorded? But you see cops getting pissed off every time there's a camera around. Well, then tell those dirty, corrupt cops to knock the shit off, and we won't have to record you. You see? What do you guys think about this? Let me know. Community Leo Watch, watching Leos as law enforcement officers. I am not anti-cop. I don't even hate cops. I just don't like bullies. And I try to live as a free American without having cops slave over me. When I'm not breaking the law, you don't have authority to tell me what to do. You really don't, if I'm not breaking the law. Thank you guys for watching. Happy Tuesday. Let me know what you think in the comment section below.